So this is definitely a cool part to the 28, I would say 288, but the 181. You can actually add a 288 top end to it. So the 181 top end is actually pretty desirable, but if you can put a 288 top end on it, why would you not do that? So this one actually comes, it says an OEM unit, it's from Brazil, because they're still producing these there, I guess. So what I'm going to do is take off and this already has the wrist pin in it, so let's push that out. Again, thank you to Bob at Ashokan Turf and Timber for these goodies. It's very nice. So, wrist pin bearing is brand new and OEM. Highly recommend brand new and OEM for that part. It tends to be a part that fails, so that is not a part you want to fail. Push the wrist pin in. Again, I'm just going to get a few measurements here, so I'm going to set aside the ring for the moment. Arrow points towards the exhaust, and let's see how this fits. Want to sit all the way. Actually looks like there's a lip right in here messing me up. And it looks like it would go all the way around otherwise. Let's take a Sharpie. We'll mark on there and see if we can get it to mark. And indeed, there is where it looks like it's binding. So the easiest thing to do I think, is grind some away on that and see if we can get that to sit down. Just going to take my usual grinder here and hit it. So I think I've got it. Now, so hindsight here is important. There's a lip right here that really would have been easy to shave down before I put the case halves together. If you do it now, then you risk getting stuff down in the bearings, but it would have been a whole lot easier with the case halves apart before you put the bearings in to grind that away. Oh well, easy enough at this point just to grind that. So now it fits. So now that that's ground, we can put this down. No gasket. Make sure it doesn't rock, doesn't move. Okay. Get a couple of cylinder head bolts, a little bit of grease on your Long Allen, and put a couple of the head bolts down. Now, Marcello doesn't necessarily want this crazy ported, so I think we're going to leave this fairly close to stock, but still we'll have a look at the numbers and see where they end up. Alright, 2 head bolts down, hand tight. The Woodruff key. Put that on the crank. Do not want to lose that. Get our flywheel here. And this is just so you can turn it up and down. Alright, so we don't have a head slapper. That's good. Check our squish. A little bit of solder here. 23 thousandths. That's fine. So we got plenty of room there. Don't really need to drop it any further. You can. I could deck it 3 thousandths, but really not a whole lot of point for what we're doing. So with the squish there, you can set it anywhere you want. There's no base gasket here, so when you do a no base gasket build, 23 thousandths, that's fine. You have to check it after you put everything down, but that's pretty good. Now let's put the degree wheel on it. As usual, I'll take a Sharpie, a couple of lines, just like that. That's just our reference point. My degree wheel. Seen me do this before. This is nothing new. Need a piston stop. This happens to be nice because it's made out of aluminum. It won't really wreck anything. Tighten your degree wheel down to the shaft pretty good. So visually we're about top dead center. So now I'm going to move my degree wheel. We're going to balance the degree wheel. So I'm going to move the degree wheel to where it says top dead center, roughly around those lines. You can use a coat hanger attached to something to get you a more exact reading. I just do this and get a pretty good approximate. Okay, so now we top dead center, roughly there. Now we put our piston stop back in. And this is an arbitrary point, so about 63. Go over the other side. $35, $36. So I have to go somewhere in between. Bring it up to roughly 50. Tighten it down. So now we have 51. $49. Well, that was a pretty close guess. $50. So bring it one more degree. Tighten it down. 50. Rotate it around. Just a shade back. That's all that it needs. That's it. 50 there. Now this moves, so now we're at 57. Should balance out the same on the other side. 57, roughly. So that's good. So now we can take our degree wheel and run it around and look for timing here. The intake timing is around 77. And you can go around the other side. Make sure it's balanced, 76. So yeah, our balance is pretty good. One thing I noticed about the intake though is that I don't know if you can see that, but so it cracks right there, but it's quite concave. So, you know, you've gone quite a bit, but it finally fully opens there. And there's really no reason to have that concavity on the intake. So I think I can straighten that out a bit. And I think that's pretty much all I'm going to do for port work on this. So let's straighten out the intake. And let's look at an exhaust number, unless we're way off on the exhaust. So the exhaust cracks right about there, and that's pretty concave as well. Could flatten that a bit, but I don't think I'm going to. So it cracked right about there. The exhaust timing right now is about 103. So I'll probably leave it there. But let's straighten out the intake, make that just a little bit flatter, a little bit wider, and that's really it that I'm going to do for port work. Then we can put this cylinder down. So I don't really want to change intake timing a whole lot. I'm going to add a little bit more intake, but I don't need to change the timing a whole lot. So put the ring in, take a piston, so I want to press it down right to just about where it's going to crack open. Oh, that's a little too far. And draw my line. Now what we've got is a Sharpie line in here, and the Sharpie line is going to give me kind of a frame of reference of exactly how flat I want to be. Because the ring is not going to give a concavity here, it's going to give a straight line all the way across, and the skirt is straight across too. So you want a nice crisp opening. In this case, you'll have best power when you have a nice crisp opening. So now I got a nice Sharpie line in there. Tells me not quite where I want to grind to, but it gives me a flat line. That looks better as an intake. I just touched the transfers a little bit just to get rid of a little bit of the pebbliness, but that was it. And the exhaust looked okay. So I don't really... I can fiddle with the exhaust all day long, but that's not what Marcello wanted, so at least not initially. So this has been Scotch-Brited and washed nice and clean. Let's see if we can get some goop on this and get it down on the old chassis here. Now what you can do is, just for the heck of it, I'm going to put the cylinder head down. Yeah, see, that's going to be, let's see if you can see it. So with the cylinder head there, now when it opens, you can see that's a much more crisp opening. Rather than the center opening first, the whole thing opens basically at the same time. And that's fine because the rings don't pass over that spot, so we don't have to worry about it. Again, I do like the technique of putting the piston in the cylinder first and then assembling the whole thing all together with the piston already in the cylinder. You'll see that here in a minute. There's the ring. Ring goes on. Piston pin like that. There's already one circlip installed. It looks like factory installed. It's got marks on it, so I'm not going to touch that. A little bit of lube. A little bit of lube on the bearing. This is just enough lubrication to get it kind of over a hump to where it's lubricating itself when the two-cycle mix comes in. So then you can take the piston, the pin, okay, the positioning pin goes towards the intake. And with doing it this way, you can just collapse the ring by hand and get it in. There it goes. and you know that's good. Okay. Brake cleaner to clean off the surfaces. Get all the oils off. This is a base gasket delete, so we're going to put some 1184 on the base here. Always nice to put a little bit of blue Loctite in here. Again, I'm going to brake clean this surface and use some 1184 on there. Nice thin layer of 1184 on the base here, all the way around. And you don't want to put so much that goes into the impulse hole. That's bad. Very, very bad. So now that the cylinder's done, now I can do this surface. Now, some of the saws, you do have to be careful because you have to attach the intake pieces first. I don't think that's the case on this particular model, so we're lucky in that respect. Let that sit for just a minute, let it tack up. At this point, things are what they are, so we can remove our degree wheel. So this has had a minute to tack up. Now what I can do is bring this basically to top dead center. And all I got to do is push this piston pin in the right spot. In we go. Good. Now the trick, most definitely, there we go. Now the trick is actually getting that circlip in. Circlips are not really something I can instruct very well. Circlips are something you just have to do and learn how to do. And really, if you don't know what you're doing, this is definitely one of those areas where practice makes, well, practice can make your life a whole lot easier. Click. Good. I like placing the ear downward. I don't know if you can see that, but I like placing the ear downward. That circlip is in. It rotates freely. The other circlip is factory installed. I'm going to leave that alone. And now what we can do, bring this to bottom dead center. And bring the head down, nice and slow. Make sure your bolts are clean. I usually go for this bolt first, just because it's easiest. Don't tighten it all the way, just easy. And these bolts are, I believe, actually 1/4 and I think the head is 3/16. Little grease on your driver helps grab. Put it down.
And this is 4.
You get out my T-handle here. Lightly touch them. And give it a go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Double check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Done. Let's get our flywheel next. Put that down, and then the coil.